What is up, guys? Diversity Double Shot here, and in today's video I'm going to be talking with you guys about the Marvel Infinity Stones. I'm going to be focusing on the journey that the Infinity Stones have gone on throughout the 18 Marvel movies that have been made over the 10 years that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been around. I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys all of this through the chronological order of all the movies, but I'm only going to be focusing on the Infinity Stones. And then at the end, I'm going to go ahead and summarize all of the Infinity Stones locations as of present day. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump right on into it. At the beginning of time, there were 6 similarities, and great cosmic energies turned these 6 similarities into the Infinity Stones. Now, each Infinity Stone represents a different element of the universe. The Collector taught us that these stones can only be wielded by very powerful Sentinel-like beings, and in the past, the Orb, aka the Power Stone, was actually used by these beings to essentially judge worlds. And anyone who touches this stone will essentially get overloaded with so much power that they will explode and die. And we got to see a little glimpse of that in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. But now we know that at that point in time, the Power Stone was hanging around these Sentinel beings, and it was being used by them to essentially judge worlds. And throughout time, it eventually will get lost and then hidden in a underwater tomb. And that's not really talked about too much throughout a lot of the movies. We'll go ahead and get back to that. So millions of years after that, in the 9 realms, there was a dark elf named Malachi. And he essentially had an army of a bunch of other dark elves, and he decided that he was going to go ahead and wield the ether. Now, the ether is not even in stone form. Even though it is a Infinity Stone, it is actually in the form of a liquid. But the Asgardians of that day actually came in and saved everyone, took the ether away from Malachi before he could use it to transform worlds. So this is definitely the Reality Stone. And the Asgardians take the stone and they hide it away. Jumping forward many years, we are now at World War II. Hitler is on his quest for world domination, and he has a right-hand man who is very fascinated with this kind of history, aka the Red Skull. And the Red Skull keeps hearing about an ancient artifact called the Tesseract. For whatever reason, Odin left the Tesseract on Earth, and it is just sitting in an old hidden church. So Hydra and the Red Skull go after it, thinking that they can use it as a source of unlimited power and make a bunch of different weapons with it and use it to actually win the war. But after they actually get the Tesseract, Captain America, pre-getting frozen, stops the Red Skull from using it to take over the world. The Red Skull, who is very pissed, touches the Tesseract and in turn gets sucked through a portal through space. And that is when we realize that the Tesseract is the Space Stone. Now, in all of this, the Space Stone, along with Captain America, gets lost in the ocean, and then it gets later found by Howard Stark, who was looking for Captain America, and happened to find the Tesseract instead. So Howard Stark, who actually found it, keeps it with S.H.I.E.L.D. for over 70 years. And now we are in more current times. Now, in 2012, the Chitauri army invaded Earth at Thanos' request to get the Tesseract. Loki, who was leading the army, was given a scepter with the Mind Stone in it by Thanos in order to help him succeed. Loki knows this stone's power as he uses it all the time to mind control a bunch of different people, one of them being Dr. Selvig. Now, Dr. Selvig, who was mind-controlled, uses the Tesseract to open a huge space portal so the Chitauri army can come through and invade Earth. Now, a lot of fighting happens between the Chitauri army and the Avengers, and in the end, the Tesseract and the scepter containing the Mind Stone both get confiscated. The Tesseract gets taken back to Asgard for safekeeping, while the scepter is left with S.H.I.E.L.D. to essentially be experimented on and different things like that. But a little while later, something called the Convergence happens. Now, Thor's girlfriend, Jane, actually somehow, some way, gets in contact with the ether and gets infected by it. So when that happens, it awakens the Dark Elves and essentially tells them where the ether is. So now Malachi is back at it, trying to get the ether and take over the world. So this time, Thor is not having it at all, and he gets into a huge fight with them, which brings them to Earth. So Malachi is defeated, and in the end, the ether goes back to Asgard. And since the Asgardians have both the Tesseract and the ether, they say, you know, that's kind of stupid to do, so they go and they give the ether to the Collector. Now we're going to go back and check on the orb. The one that I mentioned was hidden underwater somewhere in a tomb. Well, a guy named Yondu finds it, and another guy named Star-Lord finds it. And another guy named Ronan, he wants it, so he sends Gamora to actually go get it for him, but Ronan actually wants it because he has orders from Thanos to actually find it and give it to Thanos. So Star-Lord and the rest of the team that actually makes up the Guardians of the Galaxy give the Power Stone to the Collector, and they actually ask him to buy it from them so they can go ahead and get rich. But through a lot of learning about all the other Infinity Stones and a bunch of other events happen at the Collector's place, the whole place actually gets blown up. But the Power Stone was not lost, and later on the planet Xandar, Ronan tries to use the Power Stone to essentially blow up everyone. And he's defeated by Star-Lord's Power of Dance. And then the Power Stone was given to the Nova Corps. But back on Earth, Tony is trying to use the Mind Stone that was in the Scepter in a bunch of different AI. And he tries it on these robots that he actually made. And it was so strong that it essentially made all the robots go crazy, hence creating Ultron. Now Ultron wants to make a new body, so he goes ahead and he does that. But the Avengers go and they take the body, and they decide that they're going to go ahead and put the Mind Stone in it, which creates Vision, who is actually voiced by the character who is Jarvis. So they mix the Mind Stone with the body and also Jarvis's AI, and they hence make Vision. And the Mind Stone was implanted in Vision's forehead. Now around this time, Thor has a dream which shows him where all the Infinity Stones are when they get put on the gauntlet. And after that, nothing really happened for a while. But then a sorcerer who is training to be a really good sorcerer, he gets really interested in a necklace called the Eye of Agamotto. And the cool thing he does with this necklace is actually regrow an apple. So that eventually shows us that the Time Stone is in the necklace. And Doctor Strange goes on to use the necklace to save the world, and he does that by bending time back and forth. Doctor Strange then decides to leave the necklace with the Time Stone in it at his training grounds in Nepal. So now that you guys are all caught up with the history of them, let's go ahead and talk about the current status of them and their current whereabouts. So we know that the orb or the Power Stone is with the Nova Corps. We know that the ether or the Reality Stone is with the Collector. We know that the Tesseract or the Space Stone is on Asgard powering the Rainbow Bridge. We also know that the necklace or the Time Stone is in the training grounds of Nepal, and we know that the Mind Stone is in Vision's forehead. So what is the sixth stone? Well, we know that the sixth stone is the one that we don't have, and that is the Soul Stone. And this stone could actually pop up in any of the upcoming movies. It could pop up in Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, even Spider-Man Homecoming, but I highly doubt that it'll actually pop up in that movie. Or it could pop up in the Infinity Wars movies themselves. But my guess is that Heimdall has it back on Asgard, and that will be discovered in Thor Ragnarok. The reason why I think that is because we know that the last stone is the Soul Stone, and we also know, thanks to the Collector, that the color of the Soul Stone is orange. Now, Heimdall has said many times that he can see all the stones in the universe, and he actually does that all the time by checking on Jane for Thor. And we also know that Heimdall has orange eyes. So, in Thor's dream about the Infinity Stones, we saw that all the Infinity Stones were gathered together and put on the gauntlet. And in the dream, Heimdall was actually blind. So my guess is that somehow Heimdall's eyes are the Soul Stone. Maybe you put them together, or maybe Heimdall has them. But my guess is that Heimdall has them somehow. So now you know where all the Infinity Stones are. You also know the history of them as far as the cinematic universe goes. And the only thing that is unknown is what happens when all the Infinity Stones come together. What's going to happen in the Infinity Wars movies. Well, I made a bunch of different videos on that, so feel free to go ahead and go check them out. But I can definitely tell you that when all these stones come together, they essentially influence each other. And each stone can make the other stones about 10 times stronger. And we definitely are going to see a really, really good movie when Infinity War comes out. And we're also going to see the Infinity Wars Part 2. So both those movies are going to be really, really good because there was 18 movies that have been leading up to it from 2008, and I think that Thanos is going to be one of the most powerful supervillains of all time, or one of the most powerful supervillains to actually hit the big screen. So with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys want to leave any of your opinions down in the comment section down below, feel free to go ahead and actually do that, as I'm curious to what you think about the location of the Soul Stone, what movie you think it's going to actually pop up in. And if you want to go ahead and check out my other videos where I talked a little bit more about the Infinity Wars, go ahead and check those out. They're on my channel. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in my next video. Definitely be sure to leave a like as well as subscribe, but peace.